Hello and welcome to Rando Rob. Each week on Rando Rob, I'll be showing and discussing one item from my large collection of collections. New shows appear every Monday, and throughout the week, I'll be adding older episodes of Rando Rob that were previously only available to my Patreon subscribers. You can watch episodes of Rando Rob on YouTube at youtube.com/Rob O'Hara. Just look for the Rando Rob playlist. Audio versions of the show are available on my website at podcast.robohara.com or through iTunes. Just search for Rando Rob. Thanks for watching or listening, and I hope you enjoy this vintage episode of Rando Rob. Anyway, I had a couple of items in my room that reminded me of a road trip that we took a couple years ago that I thought I would show off. And the first one is this coffee mug, which says Antique Archaeology, and at the bottom it says there's two locations. One is LeClaire, Iowa, which is the one that we went to, and the other one says Nashville, Tennessee. Now, you may not have heard of this story or of the store, Antique Archaeology, but you've probably heard of the television show surrounding it, and that is American Pickers. So if you've ever been flipping channels and you've seen the guy's Mike, and I forget the other guy's name. I don't watch it. I used to watch it. I haven't watched it in a while. But by the way, the bottom of this says China's. So for being American Pickers, I believe they may have outsourced. Their mugs. Anyway. We went on a road trip a few years ago because my wife had a bucket list item to see Paul McCartney play live. And so she purchased concert tickets online. It was 4 tickets. And then, so it was me and my wife and my daughter. And we met my aunt from Chicago. She drove over to Iowa. And the 4 of us went to go see Paul McCartney. And it was an absolutely fantastic show. And Paul McCartney, it turns out he's a good musician. All those things you heard about the Beatles are kind of true. He put on a heck of a show and of course, played bass and songs and played guitar and played piano and just ran through Beatles songs and solo songs. It was a fantastic show. But while we were there, we stayed in this town, LeClaire, Iowa. And LeClaire, Iowa, from a visitor standpoint, I would say it's an entire town that's just kind of set up for tourism. I mean, there are people that live there, and there were some restaurants and stuff, but the whole main street, which faces the river right there, is all just antique shops and little, kitschy kind of tourist shops and things like that. And we had a great couple of days, kind of exploring the town and going. And right on that strip, right at the end of the strip, is the Antique Archaeology store. And when you go in, there are pictures from the TV show. And if you watch, there are certain things like some of the motorcycles that the guys have bought and some of the signs, and they have all that stuff there in the store. It's all right there. And we were joking with one of the employees. We were like, oh, I guess the guys are in the back. And she said, no, he was here yesterday. He might come in this afternoon. And so they really do show up. Now, I believe, I'm not an expert on this, so I might get this wrong, but I believe you know what? I don't really know. I shouldn't even say. I don't know if this is the store that they record the show at, or if that's the other location in Nashville. I don't really know, so I shouldn't say. But it was cool. We went a few years ago to the pawn shop in Las Vegas where Pawn Stars is filmed, and it was interesting because there was so little of it was like a real pawn shop, and the majority of it was just a big area where they were selling T-shirts and bobbleheads and plastic bottles of water, like refillable ones and stuff like that, that everything had the logo, and, you could get a Chumley bottlehead and all this kind of goofy stuff like that. And, but this Antique Archaeology place, it wasn't really like that. I mean, they had a lot of stuff there that people were buying and looking at and stuff like that. They did have T-shirts and stuff like that, but it was cool. Of course, I got this mug that I keep waving around. I used to buy a T-shirt. I used to buy baseball hats sometimes from places just because I tend to wear a lot of hats. I'm a hat guy, and it seems like a good souvenir. But the problem is that you end up with, right now I probably have 30, 40, maybe 50 hats, and you just can't wear them all, and plus they seem kind of cheesy after a while. When we went to Cozumel, we went to the Three Amigos restaurant, and they sell a hat that said, I don't remember if it says Three Amigos or El Jefe, one of the others, something like that. But I bought that hat. Well, I just don't wear it that much. You know what I mean? It's kind of a novelty kind of hat, So I kind of switched to buying coffee mugs because they're small to transport home, and we drink a lot of coffee. And, since we've been working from home, and even before that, my wife and I will get up in the morning and make a pot of coffee and split it and stuff. So it's nice to have coffee mugs laying around. So anyway, this was from that road trip a couple of years ago. And just a few stores down from there was another store that had just all kinds of goofy, touristy kind of things for sale. And while I was in there, they had a little corner dedicated to Bigfoot. I don't know if Bigfoot is associated with this area of the country. I don't think so. I know there's a lot of Bigfoot sightings in Oklahoma, in the Kiamichi Mountains, I believe. So Oklahoma is a spot. I don't know if Iowa is or not. But I ended up buying this. Now, this scratches a couple of my itches. Obviously, a big fan of Bigfoot and Bigfoot, type things. But also, it's a metal lunchbox. Now, I will say this. I don't care for, really, or collect these miniature metal lunchboxes. And there's another size that's even smaller than this that you'll see sometimes. This is the picture on the back here. But I was looking for a souvenir, and I was putting up my lunchboxes at the time, and they had a Bigfoot lunchbox, and I thought that's pretty cool. So there is no thermos inside, but it is embossed like an old school metal lunchbox. You can see the back of the design there and back of both sides. There are some there's artwork on the sides too, which was always the cool thing for me when you take your lunchbox. You look at all the little things on the side. This one says fun facts: Bigfoot smells like a mix of cheese, gym socks, and wet dog. And then it says Bigfoot eats berries, nuts, and surprisingly has a taste for cinnamon or snickerdoodle cookies. I don't know if that's true or not. That seems like it might be made up. The other side has a height comparison between Bigfoot and a tall man, and has some more fun facts. Bigfoot is around 8 feet tall, and if he wore shoes, would wear a size 24. I didn't know that. Bigfoot is an introvert, so he tries to avoid contact with other people. He finds it draining. That's kind of stupid. There's also a little dog tag kind of thing on here. And it says, I'm a believer. And it's hanging right there over Bigfoot's head. You can see that there. So, one of the things that I've come to realize in my life is that you really, eventually, at some point in your life, you'll run out of room to put things. I mean, if you do it long enough, if you buy enough things that don't serve a purpose and just sit on a shelf, eventually you'll run out of shelf space. And you'll add more shelves, and eventually you will run out of places for shelves. And so I kind of got to that point in my life for a while, and had to downsize and take some stuff down off the walls and kind of replan, rethink the way that I was doing things, And so that's the only unfortunate thing about this is I don't use this as a lunchbox. I don't take my lunch anywhere where I could, but But yeah, it really, the only purpose this thing serves is just sitting on a shelf. I do like this picture. This is the traditional kind of Bigfoot pose. He's walking and, in a wooded area. But I do like this other picture where he's just kind of hanging out, watching some people out there fishing. Just Bigfoot, just hanging out. So, but again, it doesn't really serve a purpose where something like this, like a coffee mug, I use it all the time. This cup is, right before I did this video, I ran and got this out of the dishwasher. The dishwasher is clean, and grabbed it because obviously I'd used it yesterday. So, the coffee mugs are something that we put them on the wall. We've got a little place to display them on the wall, but we use them, and so that kind of gives it that double purpose and makes it easier. So I don't know what I'm going to pick up for a souvenir on this vacation, but whatever it is, I will probably be sharing it when I get back on a new episode of Rando Rob. So thank you guys for hanging in there. I always appreciate seeing everybody. I love seeing people when they come into the streams or comment on the Patreon or send me questions, messages, anything like that. So I will talk to you guys when I get back. See ya.